All right. Well, we're live. Here. Jerit Roser from Louisiana versus all y'all on TigerDetails.com, as well as now Prep Red Zone Louisiana here with Chessa Bouche from Baton Rouge. Proud as we wait on the LHSAA high school football playoff brackets to be released, and we will get some for you. So we're waiting on these football playoff brackets to be released here, starting at 11. Have several guests lined up to join us virtually throughout the day. We're out at Walmart T. Gonzalez. Very thankful that they let us come steal their internet and some school tea and whatnot. But I mean, it's just incredible that we're here. When you look at where we were a couple months ago, did you expect that we would be talking about high school football playoffs when we were in June and July?
No, without a doubt. Going into August even, there was so much uncertainty, so much unknown going into it. I was a little nervous, especially, working for NBC 33 and Fox 44 with a lot of the high school beat. I mean, high school football is what I get to do on Friday night, and I truly and honestly did not think there was going to be a football season this year, especially, at that point, LSU football was still up in the air. So it was one of those things of, is there going to be Friday night lights? Are we going to see good football here in the state of Louisiana? Luckily, we're here. Only an 8-game schedule, which obviously a lot of people didn't even meet that criteria because of everything. But we are here. I'm excited. I honestly did not think we were going to have a football season, so to be able to talk about coming up the brackets and what's going to happen, I'm just super excited.
Yeah, you mentioned some teams that were kind of close calls. We're going to have Marcus Randall, former LSU and NFL quarterback, join us a little bit later on. Woodlawn was a team that going into this week that were just finishing up needed to play somebody.
Yep.
They had 3 games because of a couple of quarantines during the course of the season, and they got Catholic, and I think it ended up being a good game for them, even in a loss, for those kids to see where they stacked up against the team of Catholic's caliber. We'll have Coach Fertitta join us as well. But regardless of who was on the schedule, they had to find somebody, so it was an interesting spot for them. And you were at a game last night, just a couple miles from here.
Yep.
That is always a fun one. EA and Santa Ma. Naturally, as weird as everything has been this year, they hold true to an absolute thriller that EA comes out on top of in double overtime. What was that one like?
It was absolutely nuts, and I put this on Twitter that it was the best game so far this season, and I stand by that strictly on a basis of going into that game. We all know that EA has been down this year. They aren't the team that Darnell Lee has produced typically throughout his coaching stint there, and so to go into that game, Santa Ma jumped out to a 14-0 lead. EA didn't get into the end zone by their offense, but 2 pick sixes makes it 14-all ball game, going to halftime 14-14, and then EA just nobody scored in the third. EA comes out, scores, and then on top of that, they get a safety. So then the ball game, you think it's over with. They're up by 8. And then less than 2 minutes to play, Santa Ma drives the field, goes for 2, gets it, and you go into overtime. And that was my first time ever out to the pit. And it was insane, and everyone's like, you should be here for a real matchup. And it's just one of those things of that atmosphere was absolutely incredible. Even because of all the COVID stuff, it was still incredible. Santa Ma's band got me hyped. Darnell Lee's screaming, telling him to his team to give it everything they got. It was just a battle back and forth. And you have to think Coach Oliver decides to kick it. And the quarterback, he's the one who kicked the field goal. And you think, okay, well, they can just hold it because EA's offense has really struggled in this game. And then all of a sudden they scored more touchdowns than they did in the regulation. So that game was just a thriller. And coming in the second overtime, they score on the first drive, the first play, and it was just insane. And I have to add the cannon too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
the mess out of and because they also did it on that side or that end of the field, the cannon just kind of wore me out after that.
Yeah, my name is Will Jones, and I follow a whole bunch of schools for the high school football around the area.
Yeah.
In fact, all over the state. And Miss Megan told me that you guys want to be here.
Yeah. We just went live a couple minutes ago. We're talking about that Santa Monica East Ascension game last night. I know it's big out in this area.
Not bad for Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good deal.
Definitely.
Good to see you, Will.
Right, nice
Excited for the playoffs?
Of course. Always.
Good deal.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I knew we'd have a chance to see some fans out here. And,
Oh, absolutely.
Will, who works at Walk-Ons, I guess when he heard that we were coming to talk high school football, I got word that he was going to be really excited to come say hello. And that EA Santa Monica game last night, I was actually at a friend who is a coach at Woodlawn's little bachelor afternoon grill. There's about 8 or 10 of us, and we're sitting there watching the live stream of that game the whole time because as much as it was a good game, every game, because of the shortened season in general, as well as specifically shortened for some teams, the power rankings jump around so much with each week. And so Woodlawn coaches were trying to crunch the numbers and figure out who their first-round matchup might be, and it was kind of all over the place. It looks like EA jumps up and maybe hosting a first-round game now because of that victory, and also affected several other matchups. And so I know a lot of people are looking forward to seeing what the final result is on those power rankings.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to Hunter Bauer if you go preps a little bit about some of that too. He's been keeping up a lot with the power rankings throughout the entire season, and he launches that site in the summer and gets to deal with the COVID season for his first year.
Bless it. He's a better man than me.
Is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to today? I guess when we start to find out what some of those playoff matchups look like, what do you go into this Sunday each year kind of anticipating or hoping you might see?
Well, obviously, I'm from North Louisiana, not from South Louisiana. I wish I was from South Louisiana. So growing up in Bouche City, you see good football, but it just doesn't compare to South Louisiana. So for me, I'm really excited to see what kind of matchups come out of Sunday. If it's, because of the power rankings, how everything unfolds. Typically, those first few rounds, you get that North and South Louisiana that go head to head. So to me, that's the most exciting because it's kind of a clash of two worlds for me to see who gets matched up, where it's played, kind of how it unfolds. I went to Airline High School. We lost in the second round of playoffs every year I was there. So it's one of those things of just kind of seeing how everything unfolds, which is really what gets me excited. What are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to some interesting first-round matchups. As we were talking about with the Woodlawn coaches, there was a point where it looked like Hanville and former Woodlawn coach Daniel Duquette might be coming back to Baton Rouge and facing the Panthers in Baton Rouge. And then also just kind of seeing how things set up. You talk about some of those north and south matchups. That's always fun. And I like some of the local ones too, where it's schools that maybe, especially in Baton Rouge, where there's the 2 5A districts, you get some kind of cross-district matchups that they're familiar with each other, but they don't play each other necessarily. And speaking of some South Louisiana, doesn't get a whole lot more South Louisiana than an Edna Carr, defensive back, Destin Refuge senior for the Cougars, who now four-time state championships go and going for a 5th. What's up, man?
Nothing, just thanking God, waking up every morning. Just thankful for being here today.
So for you guys, when you go into this weekend and you're waiting to see what the matchups look like, you're a team that traditionally is a very high seed and make those deep runs and end up in the Superdome. What did you come into this weekend wanting to see bracket-wise, and what's kind of the conversation for you guys as you turn the page from regular season to postseason?
The conversation is mostly about just dominating your opponent, winning in all 3 phases of the game, special teams, defense, and offense, and just when adversity strikes, just stand leaning on each other. And so mostly just dominating your opponent, in all 3 phases of the game, from start to finish.
So you're trying to add that final ring so you'll be able to have all 5 on that hand.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Got to.
We talked about this a couple times this season, but each year is kind of its own team. As much as there's a tradition that you guys have built, and you talk about being second to none. What stands out about this year's group as you try to kind of leave your own specific legacy in that bigger picture?
Um, just can you repeat yourself?
Yeah, we talk about the level of success over time that this car program has had,
Mm.
and there's an identity, I guess, to the program as a whole, but each year is its own team trying to leave that next piece of the bigger puzzle.
Right.
What has been special about your senior class and this year's team this fall as you head to the postseason?
What's been special about my senior class is just we had a lot of bumps in the road through this journey, but one thing about us, we never quit. We just found that success in us to just keep going. We never let nothing break us. So when them bumps and them adversities came, we just kept going. We didn't let nothing stop us. We didn't settle for nothing.
Sounds good, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
As we mentioned, we're going to be flying around pretty quickly right now, and so appreciate Destin hopping on and being the first guest. And we're going to make an interesting transition to another 4A program up in North Louisiana in Neville next, talking to Coach Jeff Tannehill. Destin, have a good rest of the day, man, and have fun watching the Rockets.
Appreciate you guys.
Good luck.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
As I mentioned, Neville coach Jeff Tannehill with us, waiting for his matchups to come live. How are things going up in Monroe?
They're going great up here, Jared. You doing all right down there?
Yeah, man. Chessa and I are sitting in a walk-on to Gonzalez, sipping some sweet tea, so it's a good Sunday morning.
That's not a bad Sunday morning. I like walk-ons.
It's a good place to be. Talking to Destin Refuge, the defensive back from Edna Carr a second ago, we talked about sort of the balance of the bigger picture tradition that they have there and this year's team specifically. You're a guy that is in your first year as head coach at Neville, but has been a piece of some of what's been built there for years now. As you head in as head coach for the first time, the Neville Tigers into the playoffs, what's kind of the attitude, the mindset, the mood around the field house?
Well, it really is it's kind of the same as each week. No game is more important than the one we're about to play. And as we go into the playoffs, a lot of people like skip straight to the semifinals and see who's playing. And I'm a lot like Coach McCarty when it comes to that kind of stuff. Whereas I think we have to take care of business one week at a time. And no matter who we play, I think we got a chance to beat them. And I think our kids are going to be ready to play every Friday night. And, we just going to take it one week at a time. It doesn't matter who they are. They're a nameless opponent, and we're going to try to get after them.
Coach, this is your first year as the head coach there at Neville. With all the uncertainty this year, does it just mean that much more to get into the playoffs and you guys being healthy?
It is. That was a little bit of Big Ten when Huntington had to cancel on us. We didn't really know where we were going to fall in the playoffs. It's hard to do the math on all this stuff this year. And, we had some bumps and bruises, and we really couldn't work out anything that was really interesting. We tried to play a couple teams, and they didn't want to travel. We didn't want to travel, and it was one of those kind of deals. And so we felt like it was in our best interest to stay away from the COVID bug and get healthy and just get ready for the playoffs. And again, this year has been unbelievably challenging for coaches across the state. Just a daily routine is you never know what's going to happen for the next couple hours. So, it's an ever-changing atmosphere around here and everywhere else. And you don't know who you're going to have, each week, not just injuries, but COVID related. And and you try to stay as healthy as you possibly can. And this playoff thing may be kind of a survival thing as far as who's got all their starters on the right week. So, we practice on 3 different fields and keep our guys separated. If our first team defensive line has to go down, we are, going to run the JV defensive line out there or some offensive linemen. And so hopefully, we can get that done throughout the playoffs and try to stay healthy.
2020 is the year of just adjusting. Do you think maybe this will help you going into the playoffs because you guys have had to adjust so frequently?
Well, our kids have been relentless throughout this whole thing. They work. They get over this stuff a whole lot easier than we do as adults. They get through it. They what do we got to do, coach? And let's get it done. That's their attitude all year, and I've been happy with that and proud of the way they've adjusted from week to week of not really knowing who we're going to play every week. I mean, we've been canceled twice and had to change opponents on another week. So, I think that's really, as far as, adjustments in the middle of the game and that kind of stuff, I think that really kind of helps in them being able to adjust from week to week and day to day as far as those kind of things go. And hopefully that'll help us as we try to make a deep run in the playoffs.
You mentioned, I guess, just trying to stay healthy and have to have some, as Coach O at LSU says, next man up mentality and whatnot during the postseason this year. There's been a lot of, I think, just anxiousness to see how many games are potentially affected during the postseason in terms of if some games have to entirely come off of the bracket. Do you, from a coaching perspective and having seen, having navigated this through the last 8+ weeks, how much of that do you anticipate we're going to see versus do you think we are going to be able to be relatively close to smooth and complete brackets?
I think there'll be some adjustments along the way for sure, just from the season. It's hard to say because, I think everybody is really trying to be as careful as they possibly can. And they're everybody's doing a lot more testing and more contact tracing and that kind of thing. And, we're lucky that we're getting to play. Thank goodness. I was really worried last week that they could possibly shut this down, for the playoffs. But, I think it's going to go pretty smooth. But, there will be a few bumps, but I think it's going to go pretty smooth after the first round. After that, I think, your number of teams kind of condensed a little bit, and I think it's going to go pretty smooth after that. Let me rephrase it. I hope it goes really smooth after that. So.
I think we're all on the same page in that regard. And Coach, appreciate you taking a couple minutes to chat with us this morning, and good luck to the Neville Tigers getting into the next phase of the season.
All right, Jerit. Thank you. It's good to talk to y'all.
Always. So we will go next up to we got Coach Jess Curtis from Manny Tigers, a little bit further west, Class 2A powerhouse. Jess, thanks for joining us, man.
Glad to be here, man.
As you head into this weekend, what is kind of the conversation with your team? What are some of the things y'all are looking at in terms of both how these matchups fall into place and then where you need to be mentality-wise to make the type of run that you guys like to make typically?
Everything we've done till now has been about this. Kids have handled everything beautifully all year. Been very careful. We've only had no hiccups, knock on wood. But this is what we've been waiting for. We made the Dome last year, kind of maybe a year early, and everything we've done is to get to this point. And we're just ready to get started.
Speaking of the Dome, typically the championships are either the first or second week in December. Now it's going to be the last week in December. Does that kind of worry you going, starting the playoffs, knowing that it's so far, I guess, pushed back this season?
Well, it's one of those things we talked about the team. It's kind of a uncharted territory. I told the guys the team that's going to win it, the best team that handles it the best. I think we handled the extra month of work we had to put in to get it started. And I don't care where we play, when we play, as long as we get a shot at that trophy, one more shot.
Obviously, there's little motivation to get back to the dome for you guys after what you guys did last year. Is that kind of the driving force for your team this year?
Absolutely. Our mantra this year is unfinished business. We've been there before and came up short. And, this team kind of parallels the 2014 team that came back and was very hungry and wanted to get better. And small details are important. And this team's been led by some great seniors and some really good sophomore players.
We hope, and I mean, right now we're still planning on this all ending in the dome in the end of December, but there are some contingency plans in place, and one of them would involve Northwestern State up, I mean, right there, that much closer to y'all. Have y'all thought much about that location piece to this, or is that so far outside of what's important with the kids right now as you get started that's kind of on the back burner?
The dome's so neat. It never gets old. It's kind of everybody's kind of get the kids going, and our kids want to play in their life. If it's all possible, that's where we would like to play. But like I said, as long as we get a shot to play at the church parking lot, I like that. I just want to play the state championship.
Coach, appreciate you. As I mentioned, we're going to be kind of quickly flying around the state, but definitely wanted to catch up with you a little bit as we wait for these brackets to become official.
I appreciate it, Jerit. I appreciate your new hairdo, man. Looks good.
I'm kind of in this weird no man's land with it where I had to slick it back a little bit because it gets a little bit unruly if I don't do something like that with it.
Be glad you got enough to do that. So.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys having me.
You too, man.
Good luck.
Now we're going to Rummel quarterback Kyle Wickersham, who has actually been waiting very patiently in there for a few minutes. I definitely appreciate that. How are things this morning, Kyle?
Everything's been going great. A little sore this morning after the game, but can't complain.
You guys had an incredible run last year, obviously, and finished it out with a state championship. And so many of those guys, particularly on the other side of the ball, are now off playing D1 somewhere. And so, you, Kobe Fields, Logan Diggs, and company had to come back and take on leadership with a lot of guys around you that were stepping into much bigger roles than ever before. What has that process been like through this season, and kind of where do you see this group now as you try and follow up such an incredible year a year ago?
I would say that stepping in a leadership role wasn't as hard as we thought it was going to be. The young guys were watching Donovan Kaufman, Coy Moore, and all those guys last year, so they kind of knew what it took and knew to listen to the seniors like Logan, me, and Marcus and stuff. And that's kind of been like the role we've been playing, just kind of like feed off of what the guys last year gave us. We learned a lot from last year's group and how to lead. So that's kind of been what we've been doing, just taking what they gave us and trying to give it to the younger guys and kind of keep that tradition around. And so far this year, I think that we've been doing a really good job of it. We lost to Brother Martin earlier in the year, and that was kind of a wake-up call for us to be better leaders and to kind of get people going more in practice and all that. And like ever since the loss of Brother Martin, I think that we've all changed as players and just had a different mindset.
Obviously, you want to win every game, but because of that loss to Brother Martin, do you think that maybe that's a little bit of motivation going into playoffs?
Oh, I definitely think that's a motivation. Our team wants nothing more than to play Brother Martin again. We've been talking about that ever since we lost. We had a team meeting the day after we lost to Brother Martin, and it seems like ever since then, it's just been a different mindset around the locker room.
What does this season mean to you, knowing that, at the start of the season, we didn't even know if there was going to be a season, and now you're talking about playoffs. What does it mean?
This season means everything to me. Just, waking up every single morning at 7 a.m. to go work out, over quarantine, not knowing if we're going to have a season. It kind of just, it's a season of adversity, and to be able to play this season and hopefully to win it, I feel like that would mean something to everyone in our locker room, knowing like what we had to do to get here, like working out for 5 months straight not even knowing if you're gonna have a season. Like that takes a lot of discipline and stuff, and our guys did that all summer. So I'm super proud of them, and I know this season means a lot to them.
Well, Whip, we're hopefully going to see who the matchup is here before very much longer, and what I think is going to be a pretty wide open Division I bracket. But looking forward to seeing you guys on a Friday here soon. And as we've talked about, I'm going to connect with you and do a little bit of a longer interview on some of this stuff for you as well. Appreciate you joining us.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Good luck this season.
Thank you. Bye.
Jack Besh got it figured out sitting in the car.
Yeah, I finally got it.
What's up, man? How are y'all this morning waiting for these matchups to come final?
We're good. We're just, hoping that we get to finish our season. Hoping nothing gets real.
I mean, speak to that a little bit. What is kind of the mood like in terms of a confidence that you think it could continue and you guys could get to a point where you're potentially playing for another championship versus some uncertainty because of how many curveballs have been thrown everybody's way throughout the season?
Yeah, like I was saying, we're just hoping that we're going to be able to finish out the season. At the max, we're going to have 3 games. I have 3 games left in my high school career, so that's kind of hit me right now. But yeah, we've been working really hard. We've been doing pretty well this season, so we're hoping to finish it out, hopefully undefeated state champs.
Trying to go back to back, what does it mean just to be able to play in the postseason?
Wait, can you say that real quick again?
I said trying to go back to back this year, what does it mean to be talking about the playoffs because everything's been so uncertain this season?
Right, yeah. Like you said, it's just been a lot of uncertainties. Last year with Taylor Cole's team, we had a huge state championship win, 58-10 against LHSAA. And this year, completely different kind of styles of play. But, he's been doing his thing. And I really think that if we continue to play, nobody's going to be able to keep up with us in the playoffs.
You put yourself on the map. You were already kind of out there, but after what you've done so far this season, you've been kind of a household name. What do you look to do in the postseason?
I'm really trying to play the games. Not really any more individual goals. That's kind of over with, kind of. But just to be able to have as much output I can have in my team. To try and get us to win at the end of the game.
We're about to transition over to Corey Lambert Jr. from Brother Martin, but want to ask you before you go, Jack, if you have the opportunity to compete for a state championship again and go out on top, and let's say it's in the Superdome, and you had a chance to win a state title at home, get a chance to potentially compete for one, and are one of the top contenders to potentially win one, and do so in that sort of atmosphere, and then you get a chance to transition off to LSU for college. How incredible and storybook of a feeling would that all be?
Wait, say the last part again.
Just if you get a chance to write that story that way, where you go out on top and then move on to LSU for college, what would that feel like at this point in your life to have the opportunity to continue to drop those pieces into place?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, it was kind of like a dream. That was just all that. So, hopefully being able to win a state championship and hopefully bring back a national championship the next couple of years to Baton Rouge. It's going to be really awesome. Just kind of think about winning a state championship in high school, then winning a national championship on a college level. It's just, all the dreams coming true, really.
Appreciate you, Jack.
Yeah, good talking to y'all. Y'all have a good one.
You too. As I mentioned, switching right over to Corey Lambert Jr., a junior athlete over at Brother Martin, and we talked about Wickersham a minute ago about losing that game to Brother Martin. Brother Martin beats Curtis this week and concludes that Catholic League state champion, or that Catholic League championship in this weird year, and an undefeated regular season, and now turns the pace to playoffs. How's all that feel, man?
I mean, last game was obviously a hard game. That beer option offense, and we got a bye week this week, so we're just looking forward to the next one that we have week after Thanksgiving. So,
How will you keep that momentum going in the playoffs? Obviously, the bye week's nice. You kind of rest up, you get to work. But how do you keep that going?
well, that bye week, it could be a blessing and a curse sometimes, but we're really looking like the momentum obviously that we have going into this week playoffs. We're trying to keep that going right now. This week at practice, we're trying to keep that momentum and everything we do. Even though this is a bye week and we don't have anybody this week, we're still trying to keep that momentum going.
What does this season mean? Because we all know that this season was kind of up in the air, and now we're talking about playoffs.
Wait, what'd you say about the?
This year, the season was up in the air. We didn't even know if we were going to have a season, and now we're talking about playoffs. What does it mean to be able to play?
Well, all in that period of time before the season started, when the COVID, everything, and we couldn't really practice and everything, I think that kept telling us that we gotta stay ready, so we don't ever have to get ready. And always be a tough year. We gotta do a great job of that.
Everybody's faced a lot of adversity and having to just kind of be able to adjust on the fly. Because that'll help you guys in the postseason.
Yeah, I feel like it will. We've seen a lot of teams, a lot of passing teams, a lot of winning teams. We just saw a pure option offense, so I think we're ready for anything that anybody can throw at us right now.
Well, Corey, good luck to you guys going to compete for that first state championship for Brother Martin since 1971. As we've talked about, taking that one game at a time, but obviously a huge prize at the end if you can keep playing the way you guys have been playing.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Back up to North Louisiana, Landry Liddy, quarterback from Calvary Baptist, another top junior prospect for that 2022 state from a little bit closer to
my hometown.
What's going on, Landry?
What's going on? How are y'all doing?
We're good, man. We're walk-ons hanging out, talking football with you guys from all over the place, so I can't complain.
Yes, sir.
So going into this season, kind of how, I guess we keep saying it over and over again, but everybody's had to adjust. Do you think that because of having to adjust and having to, make adjustments on the fly, that it's only made you guys that much stronger?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think every kind of makes it really important and every single like at the station. God's in control, so it's all in His hands.
You had waited your turn for this season overall and had a chance to obviously go out there and have a really successful season, right up top among the top passers around the state. Now to turn the page to a playoff run, what's your mindset with this being your kind of first go around as a leader of that team and trying to carry forward some of that momentum y'all have built to this point into another phase?
It's been extremely hard waiting those 2 years. It was a good feeling playing this regular season. We played really good as an offense.
How confident are you guys going into this season with this postseason, with the way some of that has gone, the successes you've had? You guys on your birthday just a week and a half ago put up a lot of points on a Haynesville team that is obviously a big matchup up in that area. How good do you feel about the way y'all are playing right now at this time and this point in that page?
At the beginning of the season, we were not near as confident. After the first game under our belt, so confident.
Good deal, man. Well, as the brackets come out, you guys are, as you probably expected, the number one seed in that Division 4 group with a match against St. Martin's Episcopal to start things out. Good luck with that. That's the first one, but obviously you guys hope you have a few more ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, man. So, as I mentioned, some of these brackets are actually going up. I think the LHSA website is struggling a bit. There's a lot of people trying to connect right now.
Figure out.
But we've had a couple of top seeds already. There's Jerit Roser and the Miami Tigers are going to be number one in that two-way bracket, and trying to throw some of these into the stream right now. What's been your takeaway through some of these first conversations about where these guys are, coaches and players, preparing for postseason play in this ever bizarre year?
The feeling I get is that one, they're grateful. They're grateful to be here. It means more because you get something taken away that you love, and you realize how much you love and how much it means to you. You're just that much more grateful. So they all seem very eager. They're ready to play. There's a little bit of hesitation. Like typically going into something like this, guys are very like, we're ready, blah, 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 but you can kind of feel that angst, that, I guess the best word is just hesitation of the uncertainty of the unknown. Like, obviously you want to win, you want to do well, but health and staying safe and all of those kind of factor in. So that's kind of the vibe that I've seen so far with the coaches and the players. But again, it's one of those of just being able to talk playoff football here in Indiana. Everybody is excited and ready to go. But again, it's just that who knows what's going to happen, and especially in the playoffs, if something health-wise something comes up, then you're out, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, honestly, there was a little bit more of that hesitation and anxiety coming from some of these guys than I had anticipated coming into these conversations. I know I've had some of those conversations with some people and know that it was there, but it seemed pretty consistent across the board in a way that I didn't necessarily anticipate on recording. That's supposed to be pure excitement.
I will say, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I went and interviewed Madison Prep head coach Landry Williams, talking to him about our recruit of the week for BR Proud, and I asked him just kind of like playoff mode, and Landry Williams, one, he's one of my favorite coaches because he's hilarious. But I asked him, I was like, coach, playoffs right around the corner. You have 1 game or 2 games left before the regular season. And how does it feel? And he's like, I'm scared. I was like, what do you mean? I'm scared. I'm scared of COVID. I'm scared of all that. And he's like, especially with Thanksgiving right around the corner, you don't know what they're going to be exposed to. You don't know who they're going to be around. He's like, if anything happens, you're done. And to me, I guess I wasn't even thinking that way because we were still in the regular season. So I was like, well, how can you be scared? But I mean, he's a coach. He knows. He can see like his season could go up like that just because of something that is essentially out of his control. And it's just kind of crazy that in 2020 we're having to deal with that with playoff football when today should be crazy exciting.
Saw Newman coach Nelson Stewart trying to hop into the feed. We'll have him in a second. Cameron George, the UL commit and the defensive end of Acadiana, texted me just a little bit running behind with he's out with his family, and it's taking him a little bit longer to get back home. So hopefully we catch up with Cam at some point. But we'll see how things go there. And I don't know if I had a chance to mention at the beginning of this off of a crazy week for Robin Fambro at state championships in cross country and swimming. She had some technical difficulties trying to get out of Shreveport this morning, and so hopefully we'll have a chance to chat with her soon. But I don't know if she's going to make this show in particular. Just going to make safe travels for her back to that match.
I always go see my mom. My mom was like, her life.
Just trying to look through some of these. Oak Grove is the top seed in Class 1A. Iberville, 2 seed. Haynesville School that we just talked about, is sitting number 7 in that 1A bracket. Homer, a team that beat that old long-time rival Haynesville this week. It's a 5 seed. And Coach Richie Casey has those guys playing very well this time of year. you mentioned, we've talked about you being a North Louisiana native, seeing some of those schools, seeing a Calvary Baptist have the success they're having, seeing Haynesville at a 7 seed, a little bit lower than what they're probably used to, but obviously still a competitive team, and Homer having a great season. What are your thoughts on some of those small schools and the tradition there in Florida?
It's kind of crazy because obviously growing up in North Louisiana, the teams to beat were West Monroe, Evangel, and typically receiver. So to see some of these smaller schools come up and do well, I'm all about the underdog.
We're going to have a chance to talk to Carson Bruno in a little bit, the big defensive lineman from Bird, who is committed to Louisiana Tech. But as I mentioned, Newman coach Nelson Stewart joining us next, the number 1 seed in that Division III bracket. Coach, how are you this morning?
Good. We're just getting ready. Just got in. We're gonna see what we can do. Coming off a really tough game against South Blackman. We had a lot of respect for how the job he did. Just to try and freshen up, use the bye week to get better. There's no easy draw in Division III. I think certainly it's as tough as there is out there. It looks like again we're gonna have the winner of that Nard Catholic Iberia game. So we'll go out, scout, get fresh, and just trying to stay focused and make the best of the situation of the pandemic and stay healthy. But awful proud of the kids to get here.
For you, with some of what you and I have talked about this summer and the level of uncertainty to get to this point, how are you feeling on a day where we got through a regular season that we didn't know that we were going to even have at one point, and now we transition to the playoffs, and there's still some of that anxiety, I think, with whether these games are able to go as planned and everyone can stay healthy. What is that like as coach, trying to manage some of that still as we now head to a postseason?
Just as we talked about in the summer, we focus one day at a time. You just can't relax. I mean, all the sanitation protocols, the distancing now, it's more important now than ever. You can't look ahead. We don't have the meeting time we did. We didn't have 7-on-7. Literally, it's just about managing our time on the field, staying outdoors as much as possible. And there's a lot of stress to it. I mean, it's high anxiety. I guess we're built for this profession. I think getting to the state championship has as much to do with how you're handling the pandemic as what you're doing, obviously, in terms of your practice format. So just every day, trying to stay organized, thankful that such a good school as Newman is with an administration support we have. So one day at a time, just thrilled to be here, but just not looking ahead.
Coach, you guys came up short to Dunham last year. Do you think maybe that's some motivation going into this year?
One more time, ma'am. I'm sorry. Can you?
Oh, you're fine. Last year, you guys came up short to Dunham in the playoffs. Do you think maybe that's motivation for the team going into the playoffs this year?
Yeah, no, we really do. That was a tough loss for the team. We thought it was an even matchup. Neil Weiner, good friend of mine, and it was one you could just build off of. And the pandemic, with the Zooms we had, work with Arch, we were able to really look at that film, do some self-analysis, how we could become more complete offensively, defensively. It was good for us. I think it either breaks you or builds you up. We built up from that moment, and I'd like to think we're a much better football team at this time. And again, we'll see the difference as we enter the state quarterfinals.
Coach, I appreciate you, man. Looking at the way these brackets are shaping up, I think I might be seeing you for a big one here pretty soon.
We'll see, man. I hope so. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Good luck.
Mentioned a couple times, heading quickly around the state, heading out to Riverside Academy and Reserve, and Coach Kevin Geyser, who they're having a great season for the Rebels out there and getting ready for now. The playoff run is we see the 7 seed matched up against a really good St. Edmund team at number 10. Coach, how are you doing this morning?
Hey, doing good. How about you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think it was a little bit delayed, but it came through smooth when it came through. We're doing well.
That's a good deal. Thank you for having me.
You got it. As you saw this bracket, become official, and probably only had a couple minutes to look at it thus far. But what stood out to you about where you guys are in the bracket, and also right now how you guys are playing as you move forward and start tackling that thing?
Yeah. So in terms of where we are in the bracket, I think you have 8 really good football teams. So it really doesn't matter where you fall. You obviously want to be able to have home games, and we kind of blew home game quarterfinal round yesterday. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I think there's 8 to 10 pretty good teams in this bracket, and you're going to have to play every week to get out of this thing. That's where our team's at right now. We're pretty beat up. We're struggling health-wise and having everybody in the lineup, but that's okay. You know, it's football. Guys are going to go down. The next guys up are just going to have to get better, and hopefully we can get back on the right track after losing yesterday and be ready to go against St. Edmunds.
Do you think that next man mentality is really going to help you guys moving forward?
Say it again one time for me.
I said, do you think that next man mentality is really going to help you guys going forward in the playoffs?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got no other choice. We just got in as a staff getting ready to work, and the first part of our meeting at the staff today is going to be, you know, let's learn from yesterday, and we got to move on. And that's win, lose, or draw. If you get caught from the past, especially this time of year, you're going to get knocked off. So, you know, in the long run, yesterday might be a good thing for us. We don't know. But the bottom line is you got to get over it, win, lose, or draw, move forward.
Coach, good luck with it, man. Certainly looking forward to seeing you guys again soon. Was thankful to catch you guys a couple of weeks ago for that really fun matchup against West St. John, and wishing you guys all the best as you head to the playoffs.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you all for everything you're doing for the sport, and appreciate the coverage of our program. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
We head out southwest Louisiana, Lake Charles College prep coach Eric Franklin. How are you guys doing this morning? You're looking at real official. You got the good backdrop and everything. How are things treating you, man?
Everything's good. Can't complain, man. Had a big win yesterday against South Bullhorn to really get the playoffs started.
How eager is your team just to get going in the playoffs, especially after everything that you guys have been through this year?
I think they're even more eager now, just knowing that you never know when's going to be your last game. You know, just COVID stuff going on. They're ready to practice today. If I can get them out today, they would come out. But knowing that we have the game plan, being that the brackets just came out, we're going to break down film and get ready for Open Parish.
You guys have such a talented team that has been building to this point to where you're now a 3 seed heading into this year's bracket.
Right.
How do you feel about just the growth of this program in a relatively short span to where now you're looked at as one of those top contenders in that Class 3A group?
I think, you know, when your coaches and the head coach are all on the same page and everybody's dedicated to the kids, you know, to give the kids a fair opportunity, give the kids a chance. And their 6 years is fast, but it's something that we expect in Lake Charles College.
I know this year's been kind of nuts with everything you guys have gone through in Lake Charles, but knowing that this season was kind of up in the air and now we're talking playoff football, how excited are you?
I'm excited, man. Like I say, I just wanted it for my seniors. You know, the seniors are doing so much for this program. The youngest group of kids that we had in the program from the first year, they have never had a losing season but one, I believe. But this is a talented group, and they deserve to play this year, and that's why I fought so hard.
You mentioned that group. How special have they been? The Solomons and Glenn's and Bill and everybody, just and to see we talk about the program growth, to see their growth the last couple of years, and now they're in their last couple of games.
Well, it's been a dedication from this group, this class. I mean, just also one of my younger quarterbacks, but that Dylan have made those guys go football every 4 days a week since they were freshmen. You know, they didn't have a choice. Dylan would text them, let them know that, hey, man, we need to throw. And now I'm starting to see the benefits of that now. Well, the work they put in when they were younger kids at 14, 15 years old, now they're 18 and playing like grown men.
So I have to ask you this, Coach. We've interviewed a few coaches and a few players, and there's been a lot of hesitation just because of COVID and everything that everybody's gone through. But you seem pretty pumped. Why is there there's no? I like it. I'm with you.
Well, I just tell my kids, I mean, it's one day at a time, but I mean, we have to be excited about it because, it can end tomorrow, it can end today, somebody come up with COVID. So, I mean, want to be excited about it, prepare like we want to be champions. Prepare every day like we want to be champions. It works out for the better,
How much do you talk to them right now about, particularly going into Thanksgiving week and everything, about just being a reminder, being smart with what they're doing, where they are, who they're around, stuff like that?
Well, I mean, that's that. We talk about that every day after practice. That's one of my high points with the practice. I want y'all to stay home, stay safe. What's the deal with sacrificing for the next 5 weeks for something that you probably never have an opportunity to get? So they have done a great job. Like our basketball team that started, a couple went to the basketball game. I was there. They had their masks on like they're supposed to. Not around too many people. There's a lot of people. They were sitting together. So I mean, it's hard to tell a teenager not to go anywhere. They don't really understand how important it is for them to stay in one location and stay dedicated for the next 5 weeks. But we've done a great job so far.
Good deal, Coach. Well, I'm glad to hear you guys are doing well and excited for hopefully a deep playoff run. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Good luck. Good luck.
All right.
So yeah, all these brackets are alive now, and we've had, as I mentioned, several number one seeds come join us. I wish we would have had Cam George by now from Acadiana as they try and repeat. They're the top seed in 5A. He may still be joining us, but we'll see. But this is probably one that's going to be as exciting to look at as Class 5A and Division 1.
Zachary and Airline.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? I mean, coming from up there, but obviously having a lot of love for Coach Brew, who's going to join us shortly. That ought to be a fun one.
Z's going to get it done. Let's just be honest. Z's going to get it done. I know that Coach Weeks at Airline has kind of turned that program around, but especially with Zachary having the time off that they've had because of all the COVID issues, I think they're going to be rolling, ready to go, especially with Coach O and his OC, what they do. And Holstein, I think they're definitely going to make a push this season.
And EA, as we mentioned, did climb up and grab that last home game at seed number 16. They'll host Captain Shreve in another one of those North and South Louisiana matchups. The winner would play the winner of Acadiana and Covington. You talked a little bit about the Spartans and where they are now heading into the playoffs. Any thoughts on that one? They get a chance to now host their first playoff game and build on that exciting win against Santa Monica.
And that's crazy, too, just because of what Darnell Lee and his team they've gone through this season with COVID and, having to make up games and do other things. I haven't seen Captain Shreve play, but I can say that after watching the Spartans last night and the fight that they had and the energy, and there was no quitting. It would have been easy to get down 14-0 and just kind of fold, but they really got things going, and especially Jerit. I know we talked earlier about that game yesterday, but the way that their defense responded when they needed to in overtime was truly impressive because their offense wasn't moving a whole lot. Again, their offense didn't even score in the first half. It was defense, 2 pick sixes to make it a 14-all ball game at halftime. So to see their offense clicking to get going, I just think they have a lot of momentum going into this game. And I think hosting Captain Shreve at home, I think they might surprise them.
Yeah, that matchup is one that I think when we have Sam Spiegelman come on at the end of the show and talk about some of the top prospects, he might have a chance to touch upon Sam, a reporter for Rivals, and so you can find his work all over the Rivals Network and TigerDetails.com that I mentioned. I work for Sam. A lot of his LSU relevant recruiting work goes there. And there's a 2022 athlete, Kendrick Law, up there that is a fantastic player. And obviously, both are really high on Jerit Roser.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. Just a good dude. Overall, he works hard. He's been through a lot. I think whatever college he ends up at, he will definitely bring he's a great athlete, and I think he's got a work ethic that'll definitely stand out.
We're going to head out to St. James coach Robert Valdez, who me to pull up y'all's bracket. But Coach, how are y'all doing this morning? Coach, can you hear us? Coach is giving everybody the tour of beautiful downtown Battery right now.
Kind of breaking up a little bit.
We'll see if Coach can get that together. Yeah. We'll jump to Bailey Despani from Karen Crow. A great season that Karen Crow's having out there. And I'll go grab the 4A bracket because I know those guys are going to be high. And yeah, there they are, another number 1 seed that we hosted with on a street. Bailey, how are things?
Good. What about you?
Man, we're good. Hanging out at walk-ons and talking with you guys around the state.
You said what?
I said, we're good, man. Just hanging out at walk-ons in Gonzales and catching up with you guys from around the state.
That's good.
For you, we talked early this season about kind of the group that y'all had, and obviously a lot of the things that you envision have come to fruition to this point as a number 1 seed. Now things get really serious when we get to playoff time. What's kind of the mindset and the conversation about probably some pride in what you've done to this point, but knowing that there's a lot ahead?
I mean, coming into the playoffs and treating it like a normal week, it's like this whole season has basically been like a playoff because we never knew when if we would get to like play that next game because of COVID and Corona. So it's basically the same mindset going into the playoffs. It's going to keep the same.
How excited are you just to be able to talk about playing in the playoffs? Like you said, we didn't know if this season was even going to happen, and now we're having playoff time.
I'm very excited. You probably can't see it, but like inside of me, I'm jumping inside. It's a blessing for us not knowing if we was going to actually be able to play a season and made it this far to the playoffs. It's good.
Your first matchup, as I mentioned, will be Woodlawn Shreveport, and then the winner of that matchup would face the winner of 16 to Ritter and 17 Lakeshore. You guys have had a lot of success this year, obviously, as Karen Crow. The Lafayette area, it's been a great year for football out there. And we've talked previously about just the excitement of the direction of things in the 337. As you talk to some of your friends at some of these other schools, has their attitude and excitement and energy been like to, as you and Chessa just mentioned, to get to a playoff, have a playoff, and have an opportunity to keep representing in such a big way?
As of last Friday after we all played, the big teams that has like success around the area, we basically all talk to each other and we basically all root for each other to meet up in the dome at the end of the playoffs. So that's good for us to really put on for like the 337 because all you really hear about is Acadiana, St. Thomas More, LCA, and for like us, Lafayette High and Carrico and stuff to join it.
Is the Superdome ready for that many excited Lafayette natives to be there at one time?
I don't know. They're going to have to be there.
There you go, man. Well, hopefully we'll be seeing you guys here soon on some Friday nights around the state and then getting to that point with the state championship games, December 26th and 28th. Bailey, appreciate you.
Appreciate you, too.
Good luck with it.
Thanks.
We'll try to head back out to beautiful downtown Battery. And Coach Valdez gave us a little glimpse of the sprawling Valdez Estates. How are you doing this morning, man?
Actually, I ventured out to wonderful Algiers, historic Algiers, and greetings I'm at my mom's house this morning. I go visit moms every Sunday, but I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great. Chilling at walk-ons.
I was trying to pull you guys up on the bracket. Obviously, you guys coming back from a great season last year, navigating this weird one, and now head to the playoffs as the number 5 seed, hosting Abbeville this first week of the playoffs, and winner there would face the winner of 12 Sterlington and 21 West Feliciana. As you saw some of the matchups come final, what was your immediate reaction and conversation with your team, whether about matchup specifics or just the big picture of these playoffs?
Well, right now, I mean, to be honest with you, we just talked about just controlling our fate and controlling controllables. Didn't really know. The projections were that we're looking at Mansfield for a little bit, and then early this morning it changed to Abbeville. So now it's doing a little research, taking 1 week at a time. Don't know much on them. I got my staff already starting to put some things together and whatnot. And just taking it day by day. I'm excited. I think this feeling never gets old. The Sunday of the bracket release is almost like Christmas a little bit, so just excited. And it's weird this year because it's even more exciting because we'll be practicing during Thanksgiving for the first round of playoffs. So just glad to get that out of the way. That is the trap week. So if you can get by the Thanksgiving week, and now we can get by early and all that, then it'll be good, considering everything else that we have going on already.
I have to ask you, typically the championships are the first or second week in December, and like you said, you have Thanksgiving and then you have your first playoff game. Does that kind of worry you?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm excited about the challenge. It's a little different though, to be honest, because of last year I don't know if we got anything accomplished academically after winning the state championship, beautiful downtown Braintree. So it's gonna kind of keep us a little bit focused, a little bit more, and hopefully we can continue to develop, and play better. We don't make excuses. By this time, everybody's pretty much old. We only have 12 seniors, and we got a great group of seniors, and some of these young guys have been growing up, and the more we play, I feel the better we get.
I know that you talked about it feeling like Christmas, and there's been some hesitation from some of the players and some of the coaches just because of all the COVID stuff, but I really like that you are embracing this Sunday and you're ready to go.
Yeah, I think that you can look at it as life. I think that outlook is going to determine, your motivation. I think that for us, it's this: we know what's going on. We know that things are a little bit crazy and not normal. I think everybody looks up, to us as leaders, and they follow our lead. So I mean, we're conscious about it. We're being as safe as we can about doing the things that we need to do to, make sure that we have a safe environment. But life has to go on, and we have to put on a face of positivity and just keep going, and so that everybody can be comfortable around us.
Well, Coach, good luck to you guys putting on that face of positivity, face of intensity, and getting into playoff mode this week.
Let's get it, man. Good job. Thank y'all, man. Stay safe.
Appreciate you. Heading up to North Louisiana, I mentioned we were going to have Carson Bruno, Louisiana Tech commit from Bird, and heading back to your neck of the woods, your hometown.
Let's go.
Area of the state. And I've been excited for this one because I've talked to Carson before about the fact that this Division I bracket is so heavily New Orleans that people talk a lot about Rummel and Wick, who joined us earlier, Brother Martin and Corey Lamborghini, John Curtis. Bird's having a fantastic season and is sitting there at the 3 seed, has a bye to look forward to, and I don't think a lot of people in South Louisiana have caught on to that just yet. Carson, what's that been like? What stood out about this season, and how have you felt about the level of attention, or probably at times lack thereof, you get in the big state picture?
Well, the thing is, since last year we did not have a good season, we definitely were not going to get a lot of attention this year. But now, since we've made a name for ourselves, we're hoping to go down there and upset some people. But we like being the underdog up here, so we like it.
I'm from Bossier City, so that's why I had to do the season bird. But I was talking with Jerit earlier. It just seems there's a lot of talent in North Louisiana and South Louisiana, but even more so, just South Louisiana seems to dominate. What are y'all looking to do here in this playoff run and kind of prove yourself? As, like you said, you all are the underdog.
Well, we got a good team. We're looking to go 1-0 each week. That's all it takes. 1-0 each week. We win 3 games, and we're state champions. So we just got to go 1-0 each week.
What has stood out about this year's team to have the success that you guys have had, have that great regular season, be sitting there as a 3 seed and have the buys to start the playoffs? What's been special about your senior class and this team as a whole?
This class compared to last year's, we have a ton of senior leadership that has really driven our team and made everyone step up and hold everyone accountable, and that's really made us a great team this year. We all bought into what our coaches were feeding us, and we all play very well together, and so we're loving what we got.
You guys could potentially face St. Aug or Holy Cross. Do you carry either team, or is it just whoever gets it done, you're ready to face them?
Our team specifically this year, we have this little thing called the Revenge Tour because we got beat by a lot of people last year. But this year we went on a Revenge Tour and beat them all, and so we're kind of hoping to get St. Aug so we can continue the Revenge Tour and beat them.
Yes, I like it.
You mentioned this year was a big step forward from last year, but there is certainly a lot of proud tradition at Bird, and you had a team make a run to the Dome not that long ago. Have y'all heard much from those past players, whether that relatively recent Dome run or just, players through the many years of Bird football, and what has been their message as they see the type of season y'all have had thus far?
We haven't had too much of that, but just in general, just the bird pride is very large. Everyone loves Bird. Everyone who loves Bird really loves Bird, So everyone's seeing us going this far. They're loving it. And really everyone around here, we don't get this chance that often. So everyone around here is really pulling for us, hoping that we make it all the way.
Good deal, man. Well, I certainly wish you guys the best as we kick off the postseason, and hopefully be seeing you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me.
Good luck.
Thanks, Russ. So, as much as I say I haven't had a chance to see Bird yet this season, and I think a lot of South Louisiana folks are going to be surprised potentially by the talent there. I feel like I live at Memorial Stadium with Coach Fertitta of late, especially when I put up into that last week's matchup and was surprised that the Catholic High fan base didn't start strong, but man, did they finish strong. And we both ended up over there on Friday night watching them beat football 34-27. Gabe, how are things this Sunday now afternoon?
Oh, man, going good. We got out here at school, got the family doing a little walking, getting some exercise. So we're enjoying the breather.
She looks real excited about the sunlight and the exercise.
Yeah, it's a relative, it's an acquired taste.
You guys had that 1-2 start against obviously a few very challenging opponents, and you kept scheduling a very tough schedule the rest of the way. When openings came up, next thing you know, you guys are taking a trip to Ruston, or you guys are hosting Acadiana. You put a really good Woodlawn team back on the schedule. How prepared do you feel like your guys are right now for what's ahead?
Yeah, I think as far as the game goes, I was really concerned early in the year that with the limited lead up time and prep work and all that we got in the summer, that some of our young guys wouldn't, it would take them a little while to learn the speed of the game, especially at this level. And so now, having played those games, I feel really good about it in that respect. The bye week is certainly much needed for us. We had eight starters not play in the game Friday night, and hope to have a majority of those guys back for the playoff run now. So in one sense, it was great. And in another sense, it took its toll on us a little bit.
Coach, you guys are really battle tested facing 3 defending state champions. Do you think maybe, I don't know if the playoffs get any harder than what you've already been through this season.
Yeah, I don't know. The Catholic League is intense, and those guys they're battling with each other every single week. And with the games that we picked up, we had sort of a similar kind of stretch run there at the end. But yeah, I feel like The guys are battle tested. They're ready to go. And that's the thing about our playoff is it really doesn't matter where you're seated. You're going to play somebody that's really good, so people get caught up in the seeding and who's here and which side of the bracket. And no matter what, you're going to have to beat some really good teams to get to the dance.
The first one that you guys have to deal with is the last one that you guys had to deal with last year, and that close back and forth game late against Rummel at Tulane. It's a much different Rummel team in terms of a lot of talented guys went off to Division I colleges. What stands out about the Raiders in this matchup for you guys? Because there's obviously still a ton of talent there as well.
Right. Yeah, the last two times we played them, it's been instant classics. When we played them in 18, we won it on a game-winning field goal on the last play of the game, and then last year in the state championship game, back and forth battle, and ultimately they were able to prevail. So, you play a Nick Monica team, and then going back to even Coach Jay Roth, they're going to be physical. They're going to be able to run the football, and they're always going to play great defense. Nick has been their defense coordinator for a long time. Now as the head coach, you can really tell the emphasis that they put on defense. And you watch them yesterday against Jesuit, and it's pretty evident that, they might have lost a bunch of guys on defense, but there isn't a whole lot of drop-off from where they were last year.
Coach, I know we're looking forward to it. That's going to be one that for a lot of us media-wise is going to be circled as a likely destination that week. So good luck with this next week of preparation and just healing up, as you mentioned. And we'll probably be seeing you soon.
Yep, appreciate all you guys do. And it's going to be a wild one, and it's going to be a fun run to wherever we play, for the state title. So we'll see.
Thanks, Coach, and good luck.
All right, guys. Thank y'all.
Good luck.
Heading right to the other side of that bracket, Lester Ricard Jr., who assures me he's got the best Wi-Fi setup that you could ask for, best Wi-Fi money could buy. And the Hornets get ready for the playoffs. They, just like we talked about with Catholic, have that early bye and then would be hosting 7 John Curtis or 10 Archbishop Shaw. Lester, how do you feel about where you guys are right now after having these last couple weeks off, and now you have another one, but it's one that you earned that right for and probably looking forward to a little bit more?
Well, first of all, good morning, afternoon, all right, wherever you are on the East Coast, West Coast, Central Time, hello. Obviously, it's not ideal that, you miss a couple weeks of football. It's so hard to kind of get the rhythm of tackling back, and that's one of the things that's been my biggest concern. And tomorrow we'll have our first practice after 14 days of quarantine, which we're going to use as an advantage for us because we've been beat up. We had a couple wars with Central and with Zachary, so we're going to try to go back to the basic fundamentals, hit the weight room hard the next couple of days. Go back to some fundamental things on the football field, a lot of individual time, running them a lot. But we're excited, it's not ideal that you miss 4 weeks before you play a football game, but, you got to make the most out of it, and I hope we will.
Are you worried that there might be some rust there, or do you think it will definitely be a positive because you guys have had time off?
Yeah, you always worry about rust after a 4-week layoff. But it's life is perspective this year, right? And you can complain about having to sit in lines to get Lysol out of Walmart, or you can go wait and get the Lysol and spray it all over your house. It's however you look at it. And so we won't look at it as a negative. I've had opportunity for myself to kind of reset, re-energize myself. Because it's been exhausting. It's really been a long year. And obviously coming off Zachary, that was only 6 games that we had played so far. I was tired, I really was, all the having to pick up kids from their homes and bring them back to practice, to having to drop them off after practice. And then the rest of my staff was dealing with a lot of the same things, especially when we were virtual. It was hard. So for me, it's been great. I've been able to watch Huddle and Greenleaf and catch up on that. So feeling good about where I am personally, and I'm hoping that when we get back to it tomorrow, that the kids feel well as well.
Talking to a couple of your guys very early on, I mean, even preseason, there was an excitement and an attitude of being able to surprise some people and make a deep run this year. And you guys have the successful regular season, are now sitting there at the number 2 spot. What stood out about this group that had that sort of a lofty goal in mind early and one that was obviously attainable?
Well, I think it goes back to after we lost to Brother Martin last year in the quarterfinals. The kids really want to get back to work, and that's what we were excited about. That there was an urgency that maybe we could have done things a little bit better. And myself, coach myself, we all looked at ourselves in the mirror and said, how can we get better this off season? Obviously, we were short, but once we came back June 9th, kids were focused. We had another week hiatus because we had probably had an outbreak, like 30 kids who came down with COVID, after we got back. But once we got back again, we hit the reset button again, and the kids are ready to roll from the beginning. And it's really been an exciting group to coach. Been a blessing to coach, and been a blessing to coach the guys we have on staff. We just really look forward to a challenge. And obviously, Shaw's an improved football team. Curtis, they are who they are. For people to say that, and Curtis lost 4 games. Well, you go look at who they lost to and the points difference. They could easily be sitting here at 8 with the number 1 or 2 seed themselves. So we're not getting some, Curtis team that the earth is falling. Just they're one play away from being undefeated in all those games.
They have quite a chip on their shoulder right now because of hearing some of those naysayers too.
Yeah. I had a little chip on my shoulder too. One of them is one of those shirts you been asking. But we're excited, man. It's been a long time since we've been in this position in Scotlandville where we think that if we do what we're supposed to do, we can control our own destiny. But Division I is one of those playoff brackets that anybody, like, there's 6-7 teams that can win easily. And nobody's safe, from the first round to quarterfinals, semifinals. If you think that you have the upper hand, I think you'll be mistaken dealing with Division I teams. So, but it's exciting. That's why we get paid. Well, you in my position get paid the small books, but you get paid, to do what we love to do. So, it's exciting, man, and like.
Coach, good luck with it, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you real soon.
All right, thank you, Chessa. Hopefully you've been working on them guns. She'll tell you about her equipment, man. Just gotta find some lighter equipment to fit that. So it's, I have another coach for behind next time you need equipment. Take him to your truck out to a game. Promise you. So, all right, guys, y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it. Head over to Coach Brewerton real quick, actually. And
What's happening?
Zachary will start the playoffs with Airline, which is a couple of programs near and dear to Chessa's heart.
My alma mater, and I'm okay with that. As long as you get the W, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Wait till those fellow alums see you walk up with that Z hat on. That's what I think.
She shouted you guys out as soon as we saw the 5A bracket hit the internet. She said it's Z all the way, which is it says quite a bit about what you guys have done both on the football field as well as just selling her, buying her affection with hats and just being a general good time every time we come see y'all.
You got to do what you got to do to be a media darling. You know how it is.
How are you guys right now? Obviously, I mean, y'all had some cancellations late this year because of COVID. We head to this postseason. I think we're all thankful to have, but obviously still some anxiety in that regard. Where are you guys in terms of health and excitement and caution and everything?
Right. So we're coming into practice today for the first time in probably 6 weeks with no quarantine issues, no positive COVID issues, no nothing. So we're extremely excited about that. we lost a couple of guys early on in the season-ending injuries, but everybody does that. But as far as the COVID stuff is concerned, we're hitting the ground running today. So we're excited about that. Haven't been out on the field in over 2 weeks, so our guys are just excited about the opportunity to come back. I'm so excited to get to see our guys face to face instead of Zoom meetings that we've been doing for quite some time now, and just ready to get back on the field and get some of that rust off.
Coach, I know you and I know your program, and you guys came off that loss to Scotlandville. How has that bad taste been in your guys' mouth and just ready to get that out?
Right. Well, I tell you, our program for years and years and years now, we try and use the regular season as building blocks, learning blocks, and ups and downs of a regular season, to me, are there for a reason. It's to build until you get to the postseason. And then you're at a point where, okay, it's go time now. So we have to make sure that we take every experience that we have during the regular season, win or lose, and try and get to that point where you can play the perfect game, offense and defense and special teams. You're never going to attain that, but we want to try to get to that point, and that's what the biggest thing for us about the regular season is concerned. We've never been undefeated in the regular season since I've been here. Certainly, we want to win every game, but if you don't, you have to be able to pull some things from that and learn from certain situations. That Scotlandville game, you go to lose those guys by a point. We had an opportunity to play a ton of guys in that game because we were missing a few guys. So it was a great experience for a bunch of our younger guys to get in a big time football game and a close football game, and hopefully they will use that to their advantage later on.
Good deal, Coach. We're certainly looking forward to seeing you again on a Friday night here soon with some playoff energy in the air.
No doubt. Looking forward to it. Thank you all so much.
Absolutely, Coach.
Now we've got Hunter Bauer, as we mentioned, from Go Preps, who I talked about it. We were starting out. He starts Go Preps this summer, and we're looking forward to it and everything. And he gets his first football season with Go Preps. He gets to deal with COVID season and try and manage everything. How are things going for you right now, man? And how excited are you that we're going to have some playoff football to look forward to?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Been enjoying listening to the players and coaches and their excitement. But yeah, talking about what y'all said, we had COVID happen right after, I think it was 2 weeks after we decided to go ahead and start getting the website built. Then here in Lake Charles, we had 2 hurricanes to deal with after that, and 2 evacuations. So we went and stayed up in Haynesville with my parents for almost a month and a half before we could get back down here. But we persevered through, and luckily we were able to get through this and get these power rankings back, and I think people enjoyed them throughout the year and the coverage that we've been able to do as we've been able to do it. We actually just got internet back at our temporary apartment this week, so I'm ecstatic. And going back to your question, I'm excited. I hope that we're able to get through these games and, able to crown state champions through actual games this year, no matter where it's going to be. And, just looking forward to all the matchups, especially in the first round. There's a lot of good first round matchups.
What were some of those that caught your eye? You watched the power rankings develop. As you mentioned, you guys kept those updated throughout the season. And so even going into Friday and then late Friday night, going into early Saturday morning, you were starting to see those puzzles come together. What are some that caught your attention now that everything's final?
Yeah, and honestly, I haven't had a chance to really study the brackets that they come out. We've been trying to get them posted, but 5A, I really am interested about Woodlawn and Baton Rouge just because they've only played 4 games. I don't really know their situation, but they could possibly be an upset somewhere in the bracket. I know they get a home game the first round, but that they'll be interesting to watch, as well as that Halton and Live Oak game. For some reason, that just stood out to me. I think that would I think that's going to be a pretty interesting matchup. And then in 4A, Leesville and Northwood Shreveport, who were actually supposed to play in the regular season and that got canceled due to COVID. I'll tell you what, Northwood Shreveport will probably be the most dangerous 28 seed that you've ever seen this year. They had two games that were forfeited from the beginning of the year, so they could easily been, a 10 or up seed. And then you got Grant in 3A. They're hosting their first playoff game ever. So, they go up against a tough Lutcher team. But I tell you what, Class 3A is going to be, I think, the most open. You've got Jennings, you've got Lake Charles Prep, you've got Sterlington, and someone else. Union Parish. I tell you what, man, any one of those four can win state this year. And, there may be a couple other surprises in Class 3A. But, looking through the rest of the brackets, I believe every class is wide open. You have OCS and Calvary on opposite sides of the bracket this year. That was a big upset last year. And, so like I said, it's going to be interesting to watch. You got Welsh is going to go up to North Caddo this week in Class 2A. And, North Caddo was a top seed last year and got upset by Lakeside. And, Welsh is always hungry in the playoffs. They know how to win those tough playoff games. So North Caddo better bring their big boys this week.
Yeah, a lot of really interesting teams around the state to watch. And you mentioned some firsts with a school like Grant hosting a playoff game for the first time.
Yeah, that's big.
That Northwood Shreveport team that you mentioned, because of the forfeits being a lower seed, that's a team that I know very little about, but had seen folks in the northwest corner of the state talk about as one of the top teams in that area and having a chance to really make a run.
Yeah, and specifically players and stuff, I don't really know. Just from things that I've been told by media friends up there, they just have a really explosive offense and probably one of the best teams I've ever had. And like I said, those two forfeits and that really messed them up seeding wise. But they could easily win that game and host a couple of games as a 28 seed, which you don't hardly get come playoff time. But yeah, man. Class 4 and Lakeshore is another one. I know they're kind of down this, or not really down, but they're a 17 seed. But they could also make some noise this year. Don't ever count them out as well.
Those 16-17 matchups are always interesting to me when you end up with a good team at 17, and then they beat an evenly matched power rating type team, and suddenly they get to host a number one seed. And it can be a really nice boost. I think a lot of coaches are not so upset if they're 17 instead of 16.
Yeah, no doubt. I had a lot of coaches that have been texting me and calling me over the last couple of days and just trying to figure out where they're going to be. And that was one of the biggest ones, was trying to see if they were going to be a 16 or 17 seed. Some really wanted to be the 17 seed, depending on who that top team was. But it's always interesting to see how coaches strategize when the power ratings. And Jared, this has been a tough year. People have tried to get me to predict brackets and power ratings. I'm like, look, this is not the year to be doing that, because, the way the power ratings work is you get points off your opponents, however many wins they have. Well, you can't really predict that because you don't know if they're going to be playing this week or next week. So I could understand the frustration in the coaches not really knowing this year. But to me, I thought it was fun because you really just don't know going into the 11 o'clock bracket release today. You just didn't know really who was going to drop out and things like that. So, yeah, it's been a fun experience, and I'm just glad we were able to do it. Our website actually crashed Friday night due to the influx of people on there, and I was kind of freaking out there for a little bit, but we got it going again, and we've enjoyed it. We thank everybody for the support, and we just hope that we were able to serve the coaches and the communities well.
I'm just excited. I'm excited for playoff football. I'm ready to go.
Chessa, you went to Airline? Is that what I said?
I graduated from Airline. I went to Evangel for 3 years, and then
boy.
I know.
Okay.
I don't tell many people that. So yeah, but yeah.
No, I tell you what, back in the early '90s, Evangel and Haynesville, they had some really good games.
Good.
I hate to see them down this year, but hopefully they can get it going. I know they have a lot of a lot of young guys. But I tell you what, Jerit, I heard you talking earlier about Homer. Homer's going to be the team to watch in 1A this year. They got a lot of good talent. Coach Richie Casey, he really cares about that program, and that's what that school's been needing for a long time. It's just a coach to come in there and kind of clean things up and get them going again. So watch out for Homer in the playoffs. They're going to be probably one of the best teams to beat.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see Homer. Richie was at Louisiana Tech around the time that I was up in Monroe covering that Louisiana Tech program. So happy for him and for that community. And you mentioned Haynesville. They have those losses that I'm sure were not fun for you to watch when Calvary beats them or when Homer beats them, but they're still sitting there as a number 7 seed and a school that obviously has a ton of tradition and confidence this time of year. What's your thoughts on them and their chance to make some noise at a little bit of a lower seed than what they're used to?
Yeah, I'm good friends with head coach David Franklin, and we talk a lot each week. And they're just young, and they're a little hurt right now. So I think that bye week's going to help them a lot. Especially, I think they're going to draw the winner from Basile and Magnolia, I believe. So Basile's always got a good team, and they've been down the last 2 or 3 years. It just comes in cycles with those 1A teams. You get a lot of good teams 4, 5, 6 years in a row, and then you may go 2 or 3 years and just kind of be average, which average at Haynesville is, maybe 10 wins. If it's anything less than that, people are angry. So, but no, a lot of great tradition. And, I think they're going to do well in the playoffs. They're going to give teams good games. And, Calvary's really good this year, and they're going to be a state champion contender as well. And it's just so hard to go up against that type of caliber. I mean, they were in the games with Rummel and Bird like that, so a lot of good talent there. But yeah, they've got a lot of good tradition, and that helps in the playoffs, especially deep in the playoffs. So I'm rooting for them, but hopefully it'll just be some good matchups throughout the 1A bracket.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward, top to bottom, as we've all come back to a lot through this. I think we're just excited that we're here after some of the conversations that we had in the summer, and you and everyone in Southwest Louisiana has been through as much this year as I can ever remember an area.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, guys, it was tough. It was, like I said, I'm from North Louisiana. We don't do hurricanes down up there. So it was scary, especially with a wife and a 9-month-old. It was scary. So, and I hate it for the teams down here like Barb and Sam Houston and LaGrange, who didn't get to have a varsity season. And, I hate it for those kids. And so I'm hoping that they, they're already starting to get back to school down here. But hopefully by next football season, things will kind of be back to normal. But it's going to be a while before things get back to normal in the Lake Charles area, especially down in Cameron Parish. And so, thoughts and prayers to everybody out there. And we're just trying to take it one a day at a time down here. That's all we can do.
Appreciate you, Hunter.
All right, guys, y'all be safe, and we'll talk to y'all down the road.
Sounds good. You too.
All right.
See where Sam Spiegelman's at. I hyped him up a bunch. Rivals reporter Sam Spiegelman, TigerDetails.com that I work for, and is one of the sponsors for this. You can find his LSU relevant recruiting news there. You can find his everything else relevant recruiting news all over the Rivals Network. What's up, man?
How we doing, guys? A big day, huh?
It is big.
Yeah, we're about to transition from high school football brackets into Saints mode here in a second.
I've just been watching a full quarter of Taysom Hill play quarterback terribly, and you couldn't have caught me in a worse mood.
Well, we're giving you a break from that.
That's a way better way of looking at it, for sure.
How much have you had a chance to look at some of these brackets as they came out over the past hour and a half, and have any matchups really piqued your interest? I mentioned one earlier with Captain Shreve and East Ascension that has a couple of top prospects for the next couple of years that'll be matched up, and there are a lot of matchups of that nature around the state.
Yeah, obviously, when you look at, probably the most intriguing matchup, and it's obviously very relevant to our business is starting in the Division III matchup where Newman potentially facing LCA is probably the most intriguing one for me personally to see Arch Manning against most definitely one of the best defenses in the state. I would argue best defense in that classification for sure. The 5A playoffs are really intriguing. Acadiana looks like they have a way back to the Dome, but they are going to have their fair share of teams, beginning with Ponchatoula, Ducktown in that side of the bracket, and then going. I'm intrigued by John Ehret. I haven't seen them this year. That side seems to be mostly up in the air, but obviously Zachary getting healthy at the right time is. Could we see a Zachary Acadiana matchup in the Dome? That's something that we looked ahead to in August as a possibility. Division I, Brother Martin is going to have to face either the defending champion from last year or the runner-up, right? Catholic versus Rummel in the first or second round. That's one where I'm thinking I might have to be up in Baton Rouge to see that one again. And then on the other side, Scotlandville has been a team that we have looked at coming over for beating Zachary, winning district. Obviously, it's a really tough district, but they're going to have to go against Curtis, which is not easy to do at any point in the playoffs. So, and then in the Division II, I'm excited to see Walker Howard, obviously the LSU commit, going to be one of the bigger risers in the entire country from the quarterback position, and he's going to have to go against arguably one of the best defenses in the state, and that's University Lab on that side of the bracket against. It looks like De La Salle has a nice easy way to the championship in Division II, but they're going to have to face either STM or University, and those basically highlight. There's some other really good matchups. I'm excited to see Southern Lab against Keon Coleman in a first-round matchup. There's a lot of small matchups in the lower classes and divisions, but in the big ones, it kind of looks a little bit like chalk, but there's still a lot of excitement along the way.
I'm excited.
We were there a couple of years ago as Chris Hilton had his coming of age come playoff time, and it really burst onto the scene in a big way. Who are some guys like that you've seen flash some potential but have the opportunity to really become a bigger name? You mentioned this is an opportunity, Walker Howard's first playoff run, but he's a guy that everyone around the state already knows. He's committed to LSU, and his dad played quarterback at LSU and everything. But who are some other guys that you really like that you think in 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, a lot of Louisiana is going to really have a lot higher level of awareness of and respect for their game?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the Chris Hiltons, the Puka Williams of the world. This is a whole new stage for a lot of players. In particular, I think in the 5A bracket, there's a lot of opportunities because it seems like Acadiana in one section, and then a lot of possibilities of players. I'm looking at it from my angle. Which players step up to lead their teams deep and make a run? You look at Ruston with Catravian Hargrove. I mean, he put up almost 300 yards against Catholic's defense. I know that Catholic isn't as stout defensively against some of the offenses they've played, but Catravian Hargrove is – I think he's made his case as the best running back in the state of Louisiana this year. People up in the north part of the state talk about 4.4 speed, and he runs so recklessly. He's a load to carry. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe, some more SEC teams offered him, depending on what he does in the postseason. You look at a team like Ponchatoula, and the last time we saw Jacoby Matthews, he led Ponchatoula back against St. Paul's, which is something I don't believe they've done under Hank Tierney, one of the best coaches ever in Louisiana. So Jacoby Matthews didn't get to play in the big crosstown rivalry against Hammond last week because of COVID, but what is it? They're a 4 seed. People think that Ponchatoula will be in the state championship either this year or next year. And if they do so, it's going to be because of Jacoby Matthews and him playing absolutely. He's going to be a 5-star safety or outside linebacker, defensive athlete, but he's playing phenomenally at quarterback. And then, you look at a team like John Ehret. Does Kane Williams, does Andrew Jones make a run? Can he bring them far in the 5A bracket as far as they can go? And Mason Smith, who's arguably the number 1 player in the country, and him and some combination of Jalen Lucas and offense, can they give Acadiana a run on that side of the bracket? A guy like Dylan Sampson from Dutchtown, can he make some noise? I think we can talk about Warren Easton and Carr. Those guys we're used to talking about making runs, but those are some of the guys that I think have, especially in a wide open 5A, which I think is a lot to be determined there. Those are some names that we could be talking about each week. Jacoby Matthews, Dylan Sampson, Catravian Hargrove pushing their team deep into the playoffs.
There are a lot of potentially intriguing 5A matchups, as you just mentioned. That there's some really good ones in week 1, but as we get to that week 2 and the quarterfinals and semifinals, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how those come together, because right now there's so many different combinations that we could see play out. We see Dutchtown and Terrebonne play week 1. The winner has the winner of Destrehan and Washita. Winner there would have a Ruston, a Honville, a Ponchatoula, or a Santa Mon. So just a lot of interesting puzzles to come together over these next couple of weeks.
And one more before I leave you, and it was actually the reason I wanted to bring it up. East Ascension Captain Shreve in the first round. East Ascension, every year they are here. They're making their run. They're one of the best coached teams in all of Louisiana. Coach Lee does it every year, but they are going to have their hands full containing Kendrick Law. And I think that you and I know about Kendrick Law. Chelsea, I'm sure you know about Kendrick Law, but the rest of the state does not know about him yet. And he is one of the more phenomenal players. He's ranked so high on Rivals because of us and the fact that we know about him. But the rest of the state, the rest of the country will know about him if they make a run this year.
I'm also interested to see, going back to Ponchatoula and Santa Ma, TJ Finley's younger brother, the wide receiver, Cody Finley out there. I haven't seen Ponchatoula play this year, but I covered them last year with TJ when he was still there. And he was a pretty dominant wide receiver out there, of course. Growing brother, you have that connection. But I'd be interested to see how he does as well.
Yeah, people are kind of, Cody's been in and out of the lineup. I think Ponchatoula hasn't been full strength a lot this year, but they didn't play on Friday. Could they get healthy at the right time? I think timing, that's just a big aspect. I'm sure you guys have gone over this with your more prestigious guests like Robin, and then you bring in someone like me to close up and embarrass the show. But I'm sure COVID and the health and timing of all that is just so critical. And if you can get healthy with an Amorion Walker and a Cody Finley, those are 2 6'2" receivers for Jacoby Matthews. You have 3 combined. You have like 11 stars amongst the 3 of them. They're going to be mismatches for most defensive backs in the state with those 2 tall receivers. And from everything I understand at Ponchatoula, Cody's taken a big leap this year. So I'm excited to see what he could do in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, as you mentioned, hopefully everybody stays healthy and has their guys ready to go to battle over these next few weeks, and we get some of those matchups we talk about, but have those teams in full strength for those matchups.
For sure.
Sam, I think you did a fantastic job winding it down and coming in and talking about some of these prospects.
Well, I'm just anxious to go back to see Taysom Hill drop back and try to be a typical quarterback pocket passer. I mean, Jameis Winston's going to have to come in. I'm sorry to distract the show, but this is enough. Can we get Teddy Bridgewater back?
Yes, bring Teddy back.
Bring TB4 back.
I couldn't believe that Taysom was going to be the starter today. I've been someone that throughout a lot of this has assumed that Jameis was the starting quarterback next year. And so when that news broke, it's been an interesting few days. I tried to see if I could start him at tight end at the fantasy league, but Yahoo wasn't letting me.
It's just Sean Payton being an arrogant play caller and showing he has to do this because he said he was the quarterback of the future, and he's got to just stand by what he said, 18 months ago, of course. But you guys know how it is.
There you go. Well, get back to the Saints game, and we're going to turn our attention to that now and see whatever the opposite of all the fuss is about Taysom Hill right now.
You guys have been doing great. Thank you guys for having me. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other leading up to the Dome and then a couple weeks away. So thanks for having me. Great job, you guys.
Thanks, Sam. Again, he's Sam Spielman, Rivals recruiting reporter, former co-worker at MOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, and then at Tiger Details and with Rivals. I think he'd be someone that would be good to bring in and talk about some of the recruiting side of some of this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Just all the talent that is produced throughout the state, and to see them go head to head with some of the other top talent is a lot of fun to watch. But again, not knowing if we're even have a football season now, talking playoff football, I don't think it gets any better than this.
Well, yeah, thankful that we have some playoffs to look forward to. Thankful that despite everything that Sam has said about Taysom Hill, that it's a really good game.
I mean, it could be way worse. But again, it's the Falcons. Saints Falcons, they always go down to the wire and thing. Head to head, just nonstop. It gives me heartburn, but it's fine.
So looking forward to watching the rest of this one. Appreciate Walk-Ons for letting us come out here. Appreciate Tiger Details for the sponsorship. Appreciate you coming to hang out and talk some high school football.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Again, she's Chessa Bouche from Baton Rouge Proud for TigerDetails.com, Louisiana versus all y'all, Jerit Roser. Thanks.